Wow, look at everybody shiny and new on a Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. Kirk's going to be just a couple minutes behind, so you get Emma and me for just a few minutes, which is I know very special on a Friday. Um, we'll be letting people in as they come, but a lot going on this week. It's been a kind of a crazy week, and can't wait to get into some of the fun today. I have a little recap on some of the NAR code of ethics stuff. I got a little update on that this week, which is kind of interesting, and I'll share with everybody. But I'm going to get right into intros. Kirk will be here shortly, so we're just going to kick off and go. We got Emma with us today, which is extra special. So we got a lot going on. Happy Friday, the 19th of February. Can you believe? I mean, we're already February's over, pretty much. We're right into March. But for those that don't know me, and hopefully you do by now, my name's Shane Sauer. I'm sales manager here at Greystone Title Agency. Yeah, marketing is what I do, and it's pretty much 24/7 right now. We're going to have as I said before, we're going to have a very active year as far as listings and trying to find buyers' homes and all that stuff. So really, it's been trying to uncover those listings and help agents find that stuff, and via emails or a lot of people launching Facebook campaigns and stuff like that, which I'm sure Emma,
Yeah.
and Emma can definitely help with. But yeah, and then back to regular farming and stuff like that. Just subdivision farming, looking for turnover rates, all that stuff. We're just going to have a very active year and a very we're going to have to work extra hard, I think, to get those things. Although I've seen in the past few days, we've seen a lot of stuff come through as far as listings. We've got a cool program over here called Smart Start, where you can kind of pre-register your listing, and then your buyer and seller both get a 50% discount on their escrow fee, and we get some marketing stuff for that too. Hi, Lydia.
Hey, can you hear me? Sorry.
But
I
hey,
had to get my coffee.
Absolutely, me too. I'm dying right now. It's like I've got to give me some go juice. Eddie needs some go juice. Hey, but real quick, I want to share this, and Kirk will be here in a minute, but I want to share this real quick. And this was a quick little update. So those of you who were on with Mike Gable a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about the change in the code of ethics, the Article 10, and all the speech things. Mike did a CE class here last week, and he started talking about this very thing, and he was kind of sharing it with the people that were in there. And I actually posted the link to the show in the CE class so people could download it and watch it on their own time. I had one of the agents actually contacted the board. I'm going to share this real quick because I can. I'm going to share my screen real fast before Kirk gets here. He won't know. Okay, so an agent contacted this Sam over at the board at AAR. So, and she told him that yes, she did have some people calling, but not as many as she thought would call. And then she sent this email to him, and this little link on here is a series of videos that they've done regarding this Article 10. So I clicked on it because I wanted to look and see. So it was kind of interesting that, that was the word that he got, and she advised him to contact NAR directly as well. And I was like, okay, it's kind of something I wanted to share. And if anybody wants this link or anybody wants this little thing, and if you want to look at these videos yourself, I would be more than happy to share
And
them.
I think you're echoing a bit.
So
It might be, oh, there we go. Oh, I think it might be Lydia might have her volume up. So when she's unmuted, I think we're echoing.
yep, I
Okay,
got
you're
her.
good now.
Sorry, I'll fix it.
Oh, you're
I
fine.
got it. But yeah, I would be more than happy to share that link with anybody if they want it to go and look at these videos. But yeah, that was the word that he got. He emailed Mike and I and shared the email he got back from this.
I want an email of it.
What's that?
I want the email on it.
Yeah, I just put this on a Word doc just to share it today, but I can send it over to you if you'd like to take a look at it. Yeah, I think it was like 5 or 6 different videos, and they've got stuff scheduled for the next couple of months as well. More webinar stuff dealing with this. So I found that interesting. But there's that. Yeah, it just continues on. I'm going to talk to Mike too about coming back on next month with maybe an update on that. But yeah, it's funny. I keep going back to this thing, and I was really hot to share it because I think he sent this over to me like on Tuesday or something. I'm like, oh, I got to share this. This is good stuff. But anyways, I think I'll get right into my little portion. Kirk's not here yet, so we'll get into some inventory stuff. Some stuff I want to share with you guys today. Let's see, where are we going here? Let's go right here. Okay, we'll get back to share my screen right here. And I do pick on Chandler all the time, so I'm going to continue to pick on Chandler some more and kind of get into the Valley stats here in a minute. But changes in Chandler this week. I mean, I'm just using this as an example on this market update. This little buyer seller index here, the market action index, Chandler's never been at 90. There were actually, let me see, let me admit some more folks here. All right. I had the Southeast Valley, in fact, now has 3 members of the 90 plus club. Chandler, Santan Valley, and Mesa actually eclipsed 90 this week, which is a super high seller's market. It's crazy. Median list price jumped up in Chandler. Rent is still, we were talking about this last night. I was at a happy hour with some agents. We were talking about rents, and I'm like, yeah, it's wild. And people that can't find homes are renting and, pretty much just holding a lighter to their money basically at that point. This thing again, last week, new inventory, what sold last week. I've got a whole book on this stuff. If folks didn't hear about it last week, I've got a whole book on these Altos reports, like a guidebook of how to use these at best in your business and how to kind of harvest more data from them. If anyone would like that, again, I'd be more than happy to share. But I did want to bring this guy up here too. So putting this together, I put it together on Tuesday this week because we were closed for President's Day on Monday. But came in Tuesday morning, got this thing together, got it out. One change I do want to point out on this Valley stat sheet is I kind of color coded this in the 90 days so you can kind of see what's on the upswing and what's on the downswing and then what's level. So green is things trending up, red is things trending down, and no color or white is stayed the same. Again,
Hey, Shane.
Yes.
Did you change your screen share to your weekly thing?
Yes. Do you see it?
Still seeing the Altos.
Son of a gun. I used to be.
Figured I'd pop in here.
Let me try again. Let me get back. Can you see it now?
Yay, there you go.
Okay.
Good job.
Okay. Yeah. I was just chatting about things you guys couldn't even see. So sorry about that. Wanted to kind of touch on this, the median list price here, where I've changed. I've kind of color coded this to see the trends on here. So the green boxes, of course, are things that are going up. Red is things going down, and the no color is they've stayed exactly the same week to week. But did want to kind of point out again these action, the market index here that they've got, the little buyer seller graph here, everything going up this past week. The only down was down here in Pine, but other than that, everything here in the valley going up, or at least, this, I think it's Gold Canyon, yeah, stayed the same. But again, 3 in the 90s now, and Santan Valley sitting at 98, which it's been at 98 before. It can only go to 100. That's it. So really interesting there. I did see a little bit of a little bit of still that slowdown of the inventory ticket out. I mean, Scottsdale still 46 units down, still was leading the pack here, but everything else was kind of a little bit all over the place. Not as bad in Phoenix. I mean, still losing inventory, but it seems like it's slowed just a little bit. So we'll see. But price is still going up pretty much all over the board. But yeah, it was interesting to see those 3 cities in the 90s this week, which has never happened before. There's never been more than one. I mean, Santan Valley's have been up there since I started this thing back in September, but the other 2 now joining it. So yeah, a lot of crazy stuff. If you'd like to get this thing, again, if you're not getting it now, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to add you to the distribution list. It comes out on Mondays. The regular Altos reports come out on Wednesdays. So there's that. Kirk, I'm glad you're back. I missed you. It was like the Brady Bunch, but not the Brady Bunch. I was looking over and there was an empty box. I'm like, he's not here. Let's get you unmuted. You're muted. Yes.
I actually muted myself so I couldn't interrupt you. Yeah, it's one of those Fridays, a little scrambling this morning, but part of that was just scrambling for this to make sure I had some update slides for you. So how's everybody doing? It's great to see everybody this morning. Let's bring you up to speed on rates. I've been talking since the new year kind of hit that it feels like we're getting pressure for rates to go up. We hadn't really seen any tangible movement in that direction yet. We're kind of waiting for the new administration and, their policies and Fed policies and stimuli, plural, to hit and all those things to kind of see where the market's heading. We're starting to actually feel some of that upward pressure yet. And one of the things I was trying to do this morning as I was scrambling, so I actually wanted to show you a chart of the bond market too, and just briefly touch on that. And then maybe next week, get into that in a little bit more detail, but just give you a peek at it today. So let me share my screen here with you guys and go over the normal stuff first. We good? So you guys have hopefully all been out to my website now. This is at loangeeks.com, and it's the homepage, all kinds of great information out here, as well as calculators galore. If you haven't been out there, you got a few minutes, you're twiddling your thumbs like, I'm sure all of us just have spare time to go browse websites. But if you have a few extra minutes, I encourage you to go check it out. There's a wealth of information out there for you and for your clients. But you should go out there periodically just to look at rates, because they're real rates, they're live rates, they're updated daily. I'm updating them personally, so that they're indicative of the market and how the market's trending. So if you click right up here on the main menu to mortgage rates, that's going to take you to the rate page. You guys have seen this before. It looks just like this. Run through them real quick. The 15-year conventional, it's holding on, and there's some reasons it's been able to hold on, and we haven't seen it move a lot yet. And it has to do with it being a 15-year and the premium nature of that asset. And so they're continuing to keep that thing really low and tight because a lot of people want to, investors who buy that asset like those. So they're allowing those margins to get thinner on that. So we're still sitting at 2.375 on that, but there's pressure there too, where we could see that start to tick up to 2.5 or higher here in coming weeks if the trend continues. Our 30-year fixed conventional, it's at 2.99. It easily really could be 3%. I mean, let's face it, 2.99 is 3%. But at this point, there's actually points to be there now. If we ticked up to 3 1/8, we at my company, we would actually give a lender credit to a borrower, to a well-qualified borrower, to be at 3 1/8, but they're actually going to pay 35 basis points to get 2.99 today, whereas it's been at par or at 2.875 for weeks prior, if you guys remember. So we're starting to see it inch up, and the 30-year fix is where you're going to see it inch up first, okay? Because that's the one everybody gets, right? That's 80% of the industry is a conventional 30-year fixed mortgage. So that's where you're going to see movement first, that and in your government programs. On the 30-year fixed, FHA, we're holding firm at 3 1/8. If you remember, we had ticked up, we'd been down in the high 2s for weeks once everything had settled out from COVID. And same on the 30-year fixed VA. Right now, there's no premium pricing on those, but there's pressure there too. And the jumbo is holding firm as well at 3 1/8, but everything is starting to feel pressure. So it's going to be interesting as we start rolling into March. You know, it's that first quarter, right, Shane, where, you know, everything's kind of, what's the direction of the year, in particular with a new federal administration and a COVID and stimuli. So we're starting to hit that point where we're getting a tail end of the quarter, and we should start kind of seeing what direction at least the first half of this year is going to look like. So the last slide I wanted to share with you guys, and I wasn't prepared to elaborate on it a ton, but just to show it to you, this is the 10-year Treasury. And over here in this corner, this is the tail end of 2019. Okay, pardon me. This is the beginning of 2019. This is the beginning of 2020. This big perturbation here is COVID. All right. And then here we are in the early stages of 2021. You can see after rates had been going down and down for the last couple of years, as bond prices go up, rates go down. Okay, they're inversely proportional. So this is based on bond price. And you see it's just climbing and climbing and climbing, and rates had been getting lower and lower and lower. And then COVID hit, and it's essentially went sideways, but we saw some improvement in mortgage rates. And that's the behind the scenes pricing that was built into those that we talked about. Now they started to roll over about summertime of last year. And that pressure, it's starting to get to a point now because, again, there's fixed prices built into mortgage rates that aren't one-for-one correlated to treasuries, where now it's getting to the point where that fixed pricing, the treasuries are now getting past that. And that's what we're starting to see is the pressure in the financial markets, especially the bond markets. So if this trend continues and we keep going lower, that ultimately will translate over to the mortgage-backed securities, and we will see rates higher. I don't believe rates are going to go a lot higher. We could get into the mid 3s, maybe the high 3s, but if we do, I don't think we're going to be there a long time. I think there's reasons to be optimistic that even if rates go up maybe 0.5%, we'll stay there for a little while, but there are other economic factors that should put a lid on that and potentially bring us back down near these lows that we've been experiencing for the last, 9 months to a year. So that's where we're looking. For right now, the pressures to the upside. I know it's tough for buyers out there. It's a battle. We've got 3 communities now in the 90+ range on Shane's Altos report, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's tough for buyers. It's a battle. You just gotta get out there and put on your boxing gloves and get out there and fight for those listings.
Even in the new build, I had a client that did a new build, and there were 4 people behind us that if we didn't write on it that day, they were going to.
Yeah, I think, was it last week or the week before, I had read a report, and I think I just touched on it here, where, yeah, even with new builds, they are sold further out in time than I think any time in history, potentially
Seriously.
maybe even going back to the 05, 6, 7 time frame where, you know, people were sleeping overnight and they were holding lotteries. By the way, if you guys don't know it, lotteries are back. So
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen anybody, you know, intense yet camping out at any of these places. Maybe they learned their lessons, but I have been hearing that lot releases in these new communities,
Yeah.
they are back. They are holding lotteries. One right by me, Canopy by Marikay. It takes doggone near an act of God to get somebody in there and show the models, just to show the models.
Yeah.
Right.
Walled, and they got to have a lottery slot. And yeah.
And it's going to take it. I was told it's going to take, they haven't even broke. I mean, it's going to take between 12 and 14 months to build this house.
Yeah.
So,
I think the difference now, as opposed to 2005, is we have less land to build on, and everything's going. You know, back then there was a lot of open land, and now it's a little bit different. You know, so and then builders are being cautious, and I kind of don't blame them. I, to be honest, a lot of them got stung, as we all know. A lot of these guys were in the game 12 years ago still, you know, so everyone's being super cautious, which is putting more pressure on buyers trying to find anything.
Yeah, there are a couple factors that are different, and some of them may be ultimately translate to be negative. But for the most part, on the mortgage side, you can't just fog a mirror and get a loan anymore, like you could back then. They would give anybody a loan. Right? The liar loans were rampant. So those had come back just before COVID. Some of those types of creative programs, but then COVID. They were gone the moment COVID hit. But those are starting to kind of sneak back in. So, you know, everybody's kind of feeling confident again. So there are some of those creative, oh, you can't qualify with your tax returns, give us your bank statements, right? And we'll use cash flow instead of actual income calculations. So some of that's back. The other thing is builders are not overbuilding. Part of it is there's a big labor crunch, and there is a premium on lumber and concrete. So some of those things are curtailing overbuilding to where they're going to have an excess inventory. But I think you'll see some people potentially back out on some of those long-term builds where they just get tired of it waiting. Or if some economic factor comes along, maybe a fairly sizable. Well, one of the things I've been thinking is the stock market, right? Everybody feels richer when the stock market's up. If we have a major correction in the stock market, a lot of people who can go buy these $500,000 tract homes on postage stamp lots, they may not feel wealthy enough anymore to go buy those. And so that could be something that will slow down. But is that going to match up supply and demand because we're so out of whack? Or will it maybe just bring them closer together? There's a lot of unknowns that we're all looking at. But I don't see what's going to all of a sudden swing it like we had back in the 06, 7, 8, where all of a sudden it went from this to this. And all of a sudden we had an oversupply and not enough demand. So,
the market is up right now by 200 points. So, because it's been down the last couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's just taking a breather. I mean, it's so overheated. We're in a 12-year bull market. It's unprecedented in history. Everybody says COVID caused a recession. I'm not buying that 3 months can be a recession in the markets when technically a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of particular GDP figures, et cetera. So I don't necessarily buy that argument. I tend to believe we're still in that secular bull market. So that's something to keep your eye on because it will ultimately affect real estate. The last go around when the dot-com crisis hit, guess what happened? When that bubble burst, everybody took their money out of the stock market. And where'd they go? Anybody? This is a quiz. It all went to real estate. That's what pushed everything up from 01 into the 05, 06 timeframe, everybody got into real estate. So what'll happen this time, we don't know.
Yeah.
Something to make you go, I'll get off my soapbox and turn it over to somebody else. Hey, do we want to turn it over to Emma? How are we
let's get
doing?
Emma in.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, we're
like
running
Emma.
late and we've got Emma here.
All right. Yeah, definitely. So to change gears a little bit,
Yeah.
I am going to talk to you guys about some Facebook stuff today. Primarily just that I had a customer this week that ended up with someone on his Facebook business page that was posting things, placing ads, all this kind of stuff. And he had no idea how it happened, no idea how to get them off. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys today about how to check that stuff, how to know who has access to your page, how to see that kind of stuff, just so that you don't get caught unaware, because it does happen. And just, I think we have some new faces for me, at least anyway. So if you do not know me, my name is Emma. I am one of the co-founders of Remodel Social, and we provide posts to your Facebook business page. So if you are tired of trying to come up with posts to keep your page relevant, we can help you with that. Shane and Kirk both have my contact information. If you need it, I can throw it in the chat too. But yeah, so I also offer 30-minute complimentary consultations. So if you have some questions about your own presence, I can help you with that too. But let me just share my screen really quick with you guys, and then I can show you where to check a couple of things so you know what's going on. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, so the first place to check is your page. So this would be once you get to your business page, it's usually over on the left-hand side under your shortcuts, but you also might need to go into pages to find it. Once you are in it, you go all the way down to the bottom into settings, and then you go into page roles. And then this is going to display everyone who has a role on your page and can do something on your page. So this is going to show you existing page roles, and you might have something near the middle right here that will show businesses that have access to your page and apps. So if you have ever signed up with something that automatically posts to your page, sometimes it's through an app, through a third-party app, and that will have full permissions to your page. So if you've ever done that, it's worth checking this, because you do not want to leave those things with permission to your page once you're no longer using them. So I would recommend looking at this, clear it up. Pretty easy to take people off if you're wanting to take stuff off, but let me know if you have trouble. I can walk you through it if there's something stuck on there that you can't get rid of. And then, so this is for your business page. This is everybody who has access to your business page. The larger problem is that if you have an ad account and you have a payment method hooked up, you can give people access to your ad account as well. And so the way to check that, and I'm going to go all the way from the beginning. So over on this left-hand side, you can get to your ads manager. When you click into that, it's going to display all of your ads manager accounts if you have multiple, and it's going to show any campaigns that you've run recently. So if you are wanting to check who is on your ad account and who has permission to use whatever credit card you have in here, you just go into Business Tools, and then Ad Account Settings. And these jump around for some reason. Like for some people, it'll be on this side, for some it'll be up here, but just look for the one that says Ad Account Settings. And then when you click into that, it's going to load everything that you've set up your account with. So all of your settings, your ad account ID, everything like that. And then over here on the right, it's going to show you any ad account roles that you've assigned. And then similarly, if you have given, business accounts access or anything like that, it'll show all of that here. So always good to check this stuff, guys. Just make sure that you go on here, check this from time to time. A lot of times you've added someone a long time ago that you kind of forgot about it. And it's really just not secure to have multiple people with access to your account when you're not really using that stuff anymore. So good to pull it off just in case. The person that had an issue with it this week was very surprised and had no idea that he had given other pages and other apps access to his account. So it is good to check every once in a while, just so you are aware of what's going on with that.
So I do have a quick question about that.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm doing it as you're saying it. I'm going in there. So I do have one person that is doing ads every month, and they're in the section that says my partners. They're the only ones there. And then underneath it, it says page owner, and there's nothing there. So there should only be the person that you've given access to just the one time, right?
Yes, yeah. If you know the person that's on there and it looks right to you, you're probably fine. There's
Gotcha.
different levels of permissions you can give to people. So for advertisers, you can give them just advertising permission, which will let them place ads on your account, but it will not let them manage your payment information. So they can't like see your credit cards or anything like that, but they will be able to use them. It's admins that can see literally everything. So if you want to, downgrade someone's permissions too, you can do that as well. But generally, as long as you recognize the people that are on there, the things that are on there, you're probably fine.
Gotcha. I do have an ad question though, because I keep getting a pop-up. It's not all the time, but every so often it says, update your credit card because you owe so much money, and I don't owe anything to them. So I haven't updated my credit card.
I would probably check. I'm pretty sure there's a way to check like pending charges. I can try to send you a link if you wanna. I'll throw my email in the chat or something, and
Okay.
I'll try to send you a link of where you can check that. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound right. A lot of weird stuff goes on with Facebook ads.
Yeah. That's why I haven't clicked on it, because I wasn't quite sure if it was someone that was trying to get into my account. So
yeah, there is like a lot of phishing stuff too. So you always want to be careful on clicking on emails. Anything that you get an email about from Facebook will show up on your account too. So if you can't find it through your actual account, it's probably not real. So you don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
She should be able to go to the billing section.
Yes.
Of her, is it ads manager or just her overall account? I think it's ads manager, the business settings. And there should be invoices pending.
Exactly.
If she owes money.
Yeah.
It's probably a scam. They're probably trying to get you to click on a link and then input your credit card information.
Yeah, you always want to be careful clicking on stuff. People spoof Facebook all the time. So yeah, if you can't find it in your actual account, it's probably not real. And Facebook makes it pretty easy to see if you owe them money or not. So it should be pretty easy to find out.
That's the one thing Facebook does that they do actually make easy. Everything else they make hard, but
yeah.
Your money, they make that really simple.
Oh yeah, they'll run through it really quick.
Paid.
For them too.
Well, that's so this guy had an absolute stranger with admin access.
Yeah, not just a stranger. It was like an entire page that was like had access to his account, and then like an app and some, I don't know. But the bad thing was they had posted something and boosted something that was getting his page flagged for different violations. And so he only found out about it because Facebook messaged him and was like, hey, we're probably going to take your page down because you have multiple violations and all this stuff. And he was like, what is happening? And so, yeah, I helped him look into it. I saw all the things that he had given permission to. We found a bunch of stuff that he hadn't done on his ad account. And yeah, it's not good.
Wow. Well, yeah, I'd be curious to find out if forensically you were able to figure out how that guy, did he sneak in through a kind of an abandoned app or what? But yeah, that's helpful advice for anybody who's got a credit card, especially your Facebook, because you've done some advertising in the past. That's great advice to get in there and make sure you recognize anybody and everybody who's got access to your account.
Can you also, and I don't know this on Facebook, can you also set up the two-factor authentication where they're getting a text or what, can you do that on
Yeah,
Facebook?
and I told him to do that too. And now they are actually rolling it out to where if you have an ad account that spends money, you have to have that turned on. So I think this is a known issue for them, that people are cracking into ad accounts. And so they are requiring that. And so, yeah, a number of my customers have come to me recently asking like, what's going on? I don't even run ads, but it's trying to get my phone number. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of have to add your phone number if you ever want to run ads. So yeah, it's wild out there.
it's kind of a pain in the butt, the two-factor thing, but I got it set up on pretty much every account that's got a credit card in it, like Amazon for one,
Yeah.
because I like to tool around on Amazon. Who doesn't?
Yeah. Everything's on there.
Yeah.
I need this. Click, add to basket. It's so easy.
And it just arrives. It's like
Yeah, it
magic.
just comes to my front door.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to circle back on one thing really quick. We had a question earlier about absorption, and I want to circle back really fast. I didn't see it in chat, and let me share my screen one more time. One last time we'll do this today. And here's the absorbed right here. I think this is what we were talking about. I'm going to try to answer this real quick. So again, I got Chandler up right here. And these are all taken from last week. So this is last week's stuff, and then they compile the information, and I get it on Mondays, and agents get it on Wednesdays automatically. So this is telling you down here the new inventory in these different price tiers right here, and what was absorbed, which was what was sold last week in those price tiers, and then average days of market on here. So yes, we can look at. This has an automatic thing that comes out every week. They compile this from every city and zip code in Arizona. But, I could also take a look at our big map and a whole nother program that someday maybe we'll take a look at. We could all go in and venture in and take a look. And I can look at, just like you can, I think with Monsoon, we have something kind of like that on our side too, where we can look at, areas and see what's sold recently and what's for sale. But that's the absorb thing on here. That's what that means. It just means what was sold last week, the new inventory of what was sold in these different price tiers. Hopefully that answered that question. Hopefully.
Yeah, so if I read that correctly, like that top line there, it showed there was 11 new and 12 absorbed. So that was a net -1 in inventory for that price range.
Yeah.
In that market.
At the $1.1 million market up here in Chandler.
Yeah. So inventory went down by 1 that week. Gotcha.
So this will really show you what how much the new and what came. And
I love those reports. I need to spend more time with them. There's a wealth of information in those reports. They're awesome.
Oh, I think so too. I really, it isn't Cromford, but it's Cromford-esque. It's more of it's a marketing piece. These are, I mean, this is something you could share on Facebook or email your clients, or, really do whatever you want with them. Show perspectives buyers, what's really going on, or bring them to a listing appointment. There's a lot of benefits with these things. And plus you can search on them too. So you can search other areas, you can put other cities in if you want to look at Scottsdale, let's just say, and there it is. Voila. And also when you share it with your clients, they can search too in other areas that they might want to look at. So really informative, and I think it's easy to grasp for most people. They can kind of pick this up, and really, it's unlike Cromford, which I know can be a little convoluted. This is pretty straightforward, I think. So good stuff. But
yeah, I think so. I think it's way more user friendly. It's much more applicable. And yeah, if you're going to share it with clients, I think it's presented in
absolutely.
It's much more understandable. Makes more sense.
Kirk, you kind of faded there. I don't hear you. Does anybody hear her?
I think you got a little quiet, maybe.
Oh, I maybe just mumbled. Sorry. I get accused of that from time to time. I try not to. For those of you guys who don't know, Emma, by the way, is with us. We had a little hiatus here, scheduling wise. Emma was off doing some fun activities away from us, but Emma's here like every other week. She's a regular here. So she helps all of us get better at social media. So she's a regular here. So if you guys are too, she's going to help you get better with your social media as well. And if you need even more, she leaves her contact information. She's a great resource. I get her contact information. And if you're ever looking to get better at social media or improve on your existing, I can tell you firsthand, she's a great resource. But she's always here with us every other week. And so once in a while we have a little break in there, but otherwise she'll help you.
Yep. Or if someone hacks your ad account, let me know.
Yes. If Facebook's threatening to take down your account, you better have Emma's contact information so she can rescue you. Yeah. I haven't offended enough people yet for that. Well, I think that's all we got this week, everybody. It's always great to see you guys. I hope everybody's had a great week and have a better weekend. Who's got buyers out there? Who's taking buyers out this weekend? I'm curious. Show of hands, Natasha. I've been talking to some agents and it's, oh my goodness. Are you guys seeing, by the way, I know we're like trying to wrap this up. Are you guys seeing that on the buyer side, they're cutting the commission? I have been hearing that listing agents are cutting buyer side commission 2.25, 2.5 is like almost becoming the norm now.
We had somebody at our office meeting tell us that they found one for $1 just so that they can put it on. Oh, it was the Canadian AM or AM.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Can-Am.
So one of our agents
Can-Am.
looked at,
Can-Am.
yep, and they put it on for $1 just so they could put it on the MLS. That is not illegal, but it's very, very personally unethical. I wouldn't, well, I have an opinion about that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not an agent. I'm not going to show the house.
Yeah, that's gaming the system.
Yeah, we can't say that now. However,
we have to open everything up. But I mean, the discussion was putting together. You know, the reason why we were discussing all this was because talking about what do you call that, buyer broker agreements, and why you discuss buyer broker agreements with your clients about that. And I can guarantee you, if a buyer had to pay 2, 2.5, 3, 10% to make up that for that $1, they probably wouldn't want to go look at that.
mm-hmm.
And I would love to know on the lending side how that's going to affect people, because some of them don't have that money, and I'm wondering, can they roll that into their loan?
No.
Okay.
On a purchase, right? Because your loan's based on you coming in with a specific down payment.
Right.
Right. Now, if you're sitting in a home and you're refinancing it and you're using equity to cover certain expenses, as long as you have enough equity to still maintain a certain loan to value, that's fine. But your loan to value on a purchase is established by your down payment. You can't turn around and then take that down payment and then use it for something else, because now you don't have that loan to value anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a buyer broker agreement for X amount and they're only putting $1 in there, they have to come up with that extra above and beyond whatever down payments.
If the buyer's paying a fee, the buyer's got to pay it above and beyond, just like their closing costs, right? Any fee, they've got to pay it. Home inspection, right? That's not coming out of their down payment money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming out of pocket for that. Same with appraisals and title company fees and our lender fees. Yeah. Yep. You guys are seeing it too. I was curious. I had heard a couple agents telling me like literally 50-60% of the listings they were showing over the last couple of weeks had a reduced buy side commission rate. And I was like, you guys are the ones doing all the work, taking these people around to all these houses. That doesn't, but maybe the listing agent, to get the listing in this market, they're having to get thinner too, because it's becoming so competitive to get listings. I don't know.
That is happening. And but I will tell you, as an agent that's been an agent for almost 20 years now, those agents of us that try to give the most we can to the buy side, like I took a 4.5%. It was a long story, but I took 2% so I could give the buyer's agent 2.5%.
Absolutely.
And, but it's a personal situation.
Decision.
So yeah. So if you want to give them 1%, now what will be interesting is when the REOs do come up, it will be interesting, because years ago, like when they were first 10, 12 years ago, for the REOs, we had to give a certain percentage. And so the banks were, or the Fannie and Freddie were both told, you have to give this much. So sometimes those listing agents only got 1% because they had to give that other percentage to the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought it was odd, but the agents I've talked to who aren't exclusively a listing agent or a buyer's agent, they're like you guys. They're independent agents and they're helping their clients on either side of the transaction. They're very sensitive to the buy side commission, and they would almost take less on the listing side to make sure that the buyer's agent is getting compensated, because they know what it's like to be a buyer's agent, and they want to make sure they're giving their seller the best opportunity to sell their property, right? Which is making sure that, that agent who may not show it because it's at 2.75, right? Well, I guess in this market, things getting shown because
$1.
Yeah,
Well,
everything's getting shown in this
Yeah.
market. Yeah.
yeah, it is. I mean, but I'll tell you, here's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of agents that have only been in the market for a short time. And so they haven't been with companies. Let's face it, there's certain brokerages that are higher paid brokerages, but you get really good education. And for those that have discount brokerages, they don't always have the education. So these people, these yahoos come into the industry, which I think is great. At one point, we were all
yahoos, Lydia, at one point.
So I get it. Trust me.
I'm still young.
When I started, I was working full time in the medical field. I was still being a sales rep in the medical field. And I was chastised at some of the people in my office because I wasn't a full-time agent. And I'm like, you can say that, but the problem is sometimes you have to have that income. So that I get. But exactly. The problem is when you don't have the education or a broker that gives you that mentorship that says, hey, this is why you do what you do, and they just throw them out there. I'll tell you, I mean, there are some agents out there that you just, over the years, you put a little check mark by them and you go, okay, I will tell my client that I will show their listing, but this is what we're going to deal with. And I'll give them the list of this is what we're going to deal with. And right now you can't be picky because there's no listings, but if you educate your client on how the other side works, because you've had that experience with them, sometimes they're like, yeah, I don't really want to work with that.
Yeah. So Lydia, would you vote for some kind of, or would you support some kind of a apprenticeship or 2-year mentor? Mike Abel talks about that all the time. How he's like,
yep.
It should be.
I think there needs to be.
Yeah,
in my profession as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, the lending too.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because people don't take. So this is we are at the highest fiduciary. We are acting like we are attorneys, right? Because in other states, there are attorneys that do real estate transactions. So people either they're not getting educated or they don't understand their fiduciary responsibilities. And that's where it becomes a big issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree wholeheartedly. I sat through back in, was it 2011 or 12? It was when I was on my quote sabbatical. I sat through 90 hours real estate class just to see what you guys had to go through. And maybe 10 or 20% of the people in that class should have actually been allowed to become realtors. And I'm not picking on realtors because I let my license lapse during that time frame and had to go back and sit through the mortgage classes again to get my license renewed. And it was maybe 5% of the people in that class, and it was standing room only, maybe 5% deserve to actually be involved with other people's money. I was just
right.
The quality of people that were coming through, and they're getting licensed. Show of hands, and if you guys know how to do this, you can go to the reactions if you don't want to unmute yourselves and speak up. And it shows where you can raise your hand or you can put a little hand icon. Show of hands, how many of you guys were full-time practicing agents during the last housing crisis, during the 06, 7, 8. Okay. Dana? Okay, so we're talking vets here, okay? You guys have been through this stuff before. You guys remember it was probably right around 05 when the market really was on fire. And then all of a sudden you had all kinds of new agents coming into the market
I was that new agent 05.
Okay, you had a bunch of agents coming into the market from various
Buddy here.
and you had a bunch of lenders. All kinds of people were coming from all walks of life and becoming loan officers. I'm seeing that again too.
Hey, I got in a title in 06. I mean, because my boss at the time, dude, move out to Arizona. Money's growing on trees.
You're seeing, Kurt, you're seeing that in the real estate, the realtors as well, because look at all these. I will tell you, in the last month or two, I've had 3 of my friends, their kids were going to college, because everything's online, they're getting really bored. So they're like, maybe I'll be a real estate agent. So they contacted me and said, would you sit down with my son, or would you sit down with my daughter and explain to her what real estate is all about? So 2 of them have become members of our office, and they are under a mentorship program because my broker is very picky about that. And I'll tell you, we sit in these office meetings and they are just like they're overwhelmed. Like they were like, wow, this is a lot harder than we thought it was. And like,
well, and actually,
one of them's been going out with a buyer, and he's like, Lydia, I've been going out to every single house, and I go, unfortunately, we all had to do buyer stuff when you first became real estate agents. Unfortunately, you're in the worst situation.
The worst possible situation. Goodness.
The worst situation. And the sad thing is that you used to find, like, when there's big teams, because Keller Williams is big into putting teams together, you know, they're all like, oh, want to be a buyer's agent? Well, heck no, not in this market. Nobody wants to be a buyer's agent in this market.
Yeah, it's not easy. That's for sure.
You have to be really, unfortunately, when there's a market like this, you have to really be with with someone that understands everything. So I have an example. I'm working with a young guy, and I know his parents. So his mom is a registered nurse, and I've known her for years. And I said to her, because one of our friends just became a loan officer, you'll appreciate this. And I said, would you like to use her, or would you like me to give you a more experienced lender? And I said, the only reason I'm asking you this is because we both know her and we both like her. She's a nice person. But I explained to my friends, and my friend and her husband, I said, in this market, you really need to work with a loan officer that really understands your situation, on how they need to know all different types of loan products. And I just know enough to give them a little taste of what's out there. I'm not a loan officer, and I tell them that I'm not the one to tell you what loan to get, but you need someone that can do that, because in this market, you need to be a savvy buyer. Well, this is the one that we ended up going to a new build anyway. So we're using their lender. But my point was to her, you've got to find a good loan officer, just like you have to find a good realtor. And her comment to me, she said, I really like her, but she goes, I really want someone that knows what they're doing, because this is her son.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars, I would think everybody would want to know they're dealing with somebody experienced, but you would be surprised what people will do for 1/8% in rate. It baffles me to this day, 20 years into the business, and someone will go with some kid in a cubicle, 5 states over, because they saved 1/8. And it's like, versus somebody they know and trust that's local in the market, who they can get 20 different references local. And by the way, one thing you definitely don't want is a new agent and a new lender teaming up together. That's not
Disaster?
Group to represent you in this market. Not picking on the new people because we were all new at one time.
Right.
But you should team up
that's
with
how you earn
someone
your
else
stripes.
and you, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
So-
this is a market that, you know, you're going to see those new people coming in. There will be the ones who stick to it. They're determined and they'll come out and they'll end up being good professionals. But I just brought that up because I'm seeing it on the lending side. You know, I just
Right.
heard third hand that, you know, this guy became a lender 6 months ago and he just bought a Tesla, and, you know, and like, oh, okay, that's starting again. Okay. Lotteries, 6-month loan officer just bought a new Tesla. Deja vu.
Yeah.
So
Well,
No trouble.
and that's why you have companies that will say, get your commission before you know, there's all those, we'll give you your commission ahead of time for like freaking a rate that's like crazy, because there's sharks out there. So you can get your commission ahead of time. But the problem is that, you know, if you do that, then you pay it, you've got to pay it back if it falls apart. Well, plus you're paying all these expenses. And I love those emails because I always respond to them and said, thank you for letting me know that you can pay me up front. But I said, I'm not an agent that works paycheck to paycheck, so I don't have to worry. That should be real estate 101 or lender 101. Save your money so that first off, you got to pay taxes because you're an independent contractor, and the taxes are expensive. You've got to make your own marketing materials unless you work with someone like Shane who can give you like discounts on certain things. But you have to be a savvy business person, and people don't get it.
They don't.
You are an entrepreneur. Every single one of you guys are entrepreneurs.
And that needs to be added to the 90-hour classes, in my
agree.
opinion. Absolutely.
Amen.
Yep.
120% yes. They are not treating these, they're not getting the business education side of the business.
Because you can tell the agents that are living paycheck to paycheck, they are like doing things that are like either on the line or crossing the line just to get something done. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not like, that's not cool for me. And you can tell which agents do work paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm.
I can, as soon as I start working with them, they're like bugging me every 3 to 4 hours how the deal's going. And I'm like, you know, when you're bugging me, I'm not working on your deal.
Yeah.
Go find another client and we'll get you closed. Okay, I'll get you and I'll call you if we got problems. But the reason you're working with me is so you don't have to worry about this side of it. Go do the rest of your stuff. Pounding you, you know, they need that commission check to drop. You know when those people are the ones you're working with.
Yeah.
Kirk, are you seeing more like first-time home buyer, move-up buyer, second home? What are you seeing more of from your standpoint?
All of it.
I would say everybody.
All of it. We're seeing, but one thing I'm seeing is that first-time home buyer, they're hearing the horror stories of what it takes right now to become a home buyer, and they're discouraged. And they're like, oh, maybe I'll just wait. And it's like, you don't understand. That house that you can get for $350 today is going to be $400 or $450 if you wait.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to do is you need to work with me as your lender and an experienced real estate agent, and let us go do the hard work for you and advise you. But sitting on the sidelines is not the answer to this market. But that's probably the biggest thing I'm seeing is that the people who've never been through it before, they're being scared by all the, you know, the horror stories that they're hearing, because the
You've put in 5 offers and haven't gotten them because there's 75 other people that are right.
Yeah, and they're hearing that horror story. Yeah, we put in 30 offers and we've lost everyone. Well, then you need to ditch your agent, okay? Because your agent is not advising you. If you've lost 5, okay, I can maybe see that. It's a super
35. That's yeah.
right. But 30, come on now. You lost 30. Your agent should be advising you, and you're coming in competitive. And you know, I never advise waiving appraisals for somebody who doesn't have a lot of zeros in their bank account. But There are creative ways. I'm seeing experienced agent draft very creative purchase offers, and they're winning them. So, but yeah,
As my broker said, in this market, you have to think out of the box. You really, I mean, that's what our office meeting was about yesterday, was what are you writing on your contracts to keep you, to give your buyers the most, to make them look more, what are some of your lenders doing? I mean, that's what our entire office meeting was about yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it goes back again to, your fiduciary responsibility. You guys are all practicing law. If you go back, if we get Mike back on here, he'll tell you this. There's a big battle in the day. Lawyers did not want you guys to be able to do what you do. And the state of Arizona won out, but some states didn't. And attorneys were able to keep the real estate market. But you guys are practicing law for all intents and purposes, and you have a serious fiduciary responsibility to advise your clients creatively, but keep their best interest still at heart. It's a tough job.
That's because all of our local senators and representatives all are either old real estate agents or landowners. If you've ever gone to the Arizona Day at the Capitol, that will give you so much information about the history of real estate and how it all became. All of that information is talked about during that one day that they do. It used to be January or February timeframe. I don't know if they're doing it now because of COVID, but if they open it back up again, I encourage everybody to go because it's such a good day, and you get to meet your senators and you get to meet the House it's just great information, whether you agree with their political stance or not. It's just some of the best tours I had in that day were people that were opposite of what my affiliation is in my political, but it's a wealth of information if you can go to it.
Yeah, and that is the history of Arizona. Legislation, the legislators and the representatives is, a lot of them came from, they were developers, ranchers. Right. So they very much protected those rights here in Arizona. Let's hope that obviously continues as Arizona grows up. And that's the other thing I'm seeing is a lot of in-migration. We're seeing a ton. I was out running some errands yesterday. The number of California license plates I saw was crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know Californians are moving over here. I've got several of them pre-qualified if we can ever find them a house. Right. I've got them pre-qualified. They're good buyers, most of them. But I'm wondering how many of them they're just over here temporarily because California's been such a cluster with their lockdowns that they just want, they want to live, right? They want to be able to get out and go to a restaurant and stuff. So somehow they've come over here and they found a place to rent, or I don't know, but I'm wondering all those California license plates, how many of those are new Arizona residents and how many are just kind of hanging out till COVID's over? I don't know, but
it isn't
immigration too.
It isn't even just California, though. I mean, I go down, look at all the Illinois license plates. There's 1,000. I'm from Illinois. I'm like, go back. I don't want you here.
Illinois, Wisconsin,
and Washington, and
So the one thing that COVID
did,
the one thing that COVID did do is if you have to work from home, which a lot of companies are requiring that right now, if you have to work from home, why work in 50 degrees below in Minnesota when you can come here and sit on your back patio and next to a pool, even though it's only 40 or 50 degrees, it's still nice for them. So I'm seeing people from everywhere.
Yeah.
They're coming from New York. They're coming from all over. It's not just, yes, the majority of them are California and they're all on the west side of town, which Natasha can probably tell you because she's on the west side of town. It's booming out there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's funny. They just drive to California, get outside and stop.
What's that, Dana?
He said they drive from California, get to the west side and just stop.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we escaped.
We're done driving. We're just going to set up camp here.
Yes, this is what freedom's like. Yeah. Well, and I was thinking about this too. I'm like, okay, Arizona's what? The populations are 7 million, whole state, and overwhelmingly 5.5 million is Maricopa County, something like that, right? And my numbers are a little bit off, but basically, and that's basically San Diego County, right? Our basically the equivalent of San Diego County. So if we have, and California's got how many million? Or 30, 40. I mean, we could look it up on the internet real quick, but I'm probably not far off at 30 million residents. They could have another, basically the state of Arizona could leave California, and we could double in population. I mean, theoretically, that could be a possibility that much of an exodus could come this way. If it,
and they're
where they're
okay
find
paying,
housing.
and they're
You're gonna have
okay
to take
paying
them all
$2,000
in
and
as renters.
$3,000, and they're okay paying $2,000 and $3,000 a month on a rental because the rents in California are just as high. So they can afford it as long as they have the income to do it.
So going back to another topic, buyers should not be sitting on the sidelines because Californians keep coming over here with a California economy mindset. $500,000 house here, a $750,000, $800,000 house there, and it looks like a bargain here. So they'll pay it, even if it doesn't appraise, they'll still pay it.
Well, and that's probably not good for you either, Kirk, as a lender, because they're coming with cash.
A lot of them are coming with cash.
Yeah, big time cash.
If I get a chance to talk to them, I'm going to talk to them about how important keeping some cash is. And at 3% interest rates, they should be using me. Just in case we see a big recession. You don't ever want to be cash poor. I learned that during the last one. You have plenty of cash around. And at 3%, it's not free money, but doggone close to it. So, if you're going to buy a $500,000 house, don't put $500,000 down. Put 300 down, put 250 down, borrow 250. You can always pay it off. There's no prepayment penalties.
Right.
Too. Yeah, there are plenty of cash buyers in this market, Shane. I would say it's probably 25% of them are cash buyers. You would know. You guys can statistics there at Greystone.
At pretty much every price point too. I mean, it just is what it is right now. So
yeah, and it's hard. I'm seeing there are a lot of people that they're afraid they can't compete with the cash buyer when we're writing their PQF. And it's like, you don't understand. Okay, cash is cash, but a lot of cash buyers have this thing about getting a deal. Okay, so we're going to put together an offer that, and I'm going to put together a strong PQF. I don't just do an application over the phone and then say that's a pre-qual. Oh no, I'm going to basically underwrite that file. And it's going to be super strong, and we're not going to have surprises, and we're going to put the best offer on the table for you so you can compete with those cash guys. And we're going to do an analysis that if you think you do have to pay over list, we're going to show you how many months, if you pay over list today, at today's appreciation rates till you break even, to make you be able to feel a little comfortable if you have to pay over list. So there are a lot of things we can do to compete. Cash buyers aren't everything they're cracked up to be if they're not willing to compete and pay over list, because everybody's getting over list right now. So unless they're obviously overpriced and comps don't comp out, but it's interesting times we've got. It's great to be able to share with you guys, hear what you guys are seeing out there, and compare notes for sure. That's what I.
And
really
are
love
most
about.
of those? I'm sorry. Are most of those appraising that you're seeing? Are you seeing appraisal or?
I just had. Well, no, that was a refi. I just had one come in low, but that was a refi. Refi is a whole different game because they don't have a target they're shooting at. We can't talk to the appraiser like we used to be able to do and say, hey, I need 475 on this. If you can't get it, let me know, because I don't want to waste their money paying for an appraisal, right? I can't do that anymore. We just have to throw it up against the wall and hope the appraiser hits the number. Yeah, I'm seeing pretty much everything appraising. I haven't had any go wild over list. They've all been very measured, calculated over list. I had one where they agreed to go 5,000 out of pocket if it didn't appraise, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just
Crazy.
curious if once the appraisal contingency is waived, if you're seeing any issue with your client beyond that.
I'm not seeing anybody go crazy over, first off, so they're not going full gung ho. Their agents, the one that I'm pretty lucky. I get to work with folks like you guys, who are experienced. They're very measured and professional in how they advise their clients. They're not advising them to just throw caution to the wind,
right,
and go grossly over. So they're doing their comps. They're advising them when they come in with their offer that, yeah, okay, we're good here, and 5,000 over, 10,000 over, and we're at today's appreciation rate. Typically, the appraisers are able to justify it and come in. So, yeah.
So when I do my
BPO, we will, though. We will.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
When I do my BPOs, they are they're coming in. I mean, the BPOs, the banks are questioning why some of like the other day when I had a BPO in Chandler, they're like, why do you think this value is this way? And I'm like, because of all of Chandler, there's only 16 active homes. And they're like, what does that mean? And I go, Chandler is a popular area. The schools, that people like the schools, and there's 16 active homes in X amount of, like, I have to now put in the population for the city that I'm working in so that they understand. So in our meeting yesterday, our broker pulled up all of our home addresses, and then she came to us and said, okay, Lydia, do you know how many active listings you have in your area? And I go, 0. She goes, as of yesterday, there was 1, and I just found it today and it's pending. So, but you have to know your local market. And the problem is these appraisers are dealing with lenders, and even my asset company is back east. They don't know. So when you tell them, okay, I know the house is sold for this much, but in the market, and I even write that on my report, this is what the last one sold for. So yes, this is what this one should be. But in reality, this is what it's going to sell for. I'm way up here. And they're like, we don't get it. And I go, because there's X amount of, like, I get some of Shane's information and I put it on there because they need to know this is why it's the way it is.
Yeah. And that's what we saw back in 2005, 6, and 7, is each sale was that incremental step up, and the appraisers that have been around that long, and a lot of them still have, there's new ones out there. I can assure you, while I don't get to talk to them like I used to, they're probably all very nervous right now. So
they are.
There's going to come a point where they're just not going to be able to sharpen their pencil enough in adjusting these incremental steps up with each single. That it's coming, but for the foreseeable future, between the new builds and the resales and the shortage of inventory, ride the wave, right? We're in it till at least through this year.
Get the listings.
Yeah, find the listings. We better let you guys go so you can go find more listings. We need listings. Well, hey guys, it's been a pleasure. We've gone over, but it's every week is very informative, super helpful. Shane, my friend, you got any special plans?
Special plans for the weekend?
Yeah.
No, just enjoying the sunshine. This is again why I moved to Arizona from Illinois. And I'm also going to shoo those Illinois people, start shooing them back to Illinois. Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Work around the house, enjoy the sun. So you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.